Hey, hello everyone. So I think we're good to go.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We are happy to welcome you all on behalf of CanXR and Marché du Film. We are here to explore new ways to interact and also to present projects and XR works during this special edition. A little reminder, you can also visit the Museum of Other Realities by downloading the app for free in the Steam store. The Museum of Other Realities is our dedicated CanXR space. Here you can experience our showcases organized with our partners. During this panel, you will be able to ask questions to the speakers using the Q&A box in the Zoom session. Let's now give the floor to Amaury Burthe and Paul Mezier to talk about a quest to production value, tax rebates, creativity, and expertise of French studio. Please, Amaury and Paul, it's up to you.
Hi, right, well, thank you very much, Cécile. I hope you can hear me well. And so I will now share my screen. So give me a second. So we're all sort of, of course, learning about this. Right, you should now see my screen. Thank you all for coming and for attending this talk, wherever you are. I heard this is a broadcast from my kitchen to your kitchen, from our kitchen to your kitchens, right? And anyway, so we're very happy to be here with you. There should be about 100 people attending, and we're very happy to share these news, the different news that we have to share with you today. A bit more about us. So my name is Paul Mezier. I'm executive producer for Novelab. And I am very happy to be presenting this talk with Amaury Burthe, who is the CEO, founder, and creative director of Novelab, who will speak in just a minute. So a little bit more about the company. A lot of people know our projects, but don't know Novelab per se. We have been active doing immersive work for more than 10 years. And we have developed, known projects such as Spheres or Note on Blindness or Breathe, which was recently at Sundance, and many others. We'll talk a bit more about some projects, but just as an anecdote, right? Also to know, Novelab is actually the company, one of the co-creators of the Google Cardboard. We were in partnership with Google at the time, and one of the engineers that created the cardboard was at Novelab at the time. So we're active, the studio, so we're based in Paris, and we are active across a wide range of technologies. We build VR, AR, games, installations, and it's hard to summarize in a nutshell, but usually people come to us when things get a bit complicated and they need someone to, or some people to sort of sort things out. We have the specific skill set to be able to pull different technologies together. So we'll talk a bit more about it later on. But one more note to say that for the next few years, the company is, as I said, we've been active for more than 10 years, and we're expanding. And it's very exciting to be part of the company at the moment because we are expanding to more French regions. We're present in several French regions, but we'll be expanding to more countries. And I'll have a quick note about it later during the talk. So we have several news to announce throughout the conference. It won't be too long. But I hope you can be with us for the whole time. This is a summary of some of the awards we've won. Not everything is here. Just one thing we've realized, we've just counted the awards recently, and we've realized that we are the most awarded VR studio or immersive studio in Europe. So we will go through some of the projects that allowed us to earn these awards. And without further ado, I will give the floor to Amaury, Burthe, who will present some of the projects.
I hope you can hear me because I had some problems now. Paul, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Everything good. Okay, so let's start with a project that's a bit old now because in VR time, 4 years is quite old. This project is a good example of the French ecosystem collaboration possibilities because the project involves the French TV channel Arte and the producing company Agate Film and also the CNC that provided some financing and some regional subsidies as well. So the project was a first of its kind in the sense that we used in this project audio to trigger the visuals, and we introduce this idea of adaptive storytelling. It's also what we think is a good use of VR, since we really build a whole world and we immerse you in that world. So it's in our opinion, it's a very good use case of VR. You can have a few screenshots in the presentation now about the world we're creating. It is very dark and sparse because you only see things that are emitting sounds, which was the base of the project. So that was the first example of a French ecosystem possibilities. The second one is Spheres, more recent, from director Elisa Magnit. And in this one, somehow the French ecosystem enabled us to assemble a team that is still working with us in the studio, which is nice. A team of really very talented creative coders. So we implemented a lot of real-time VFX, a lot of real-time shaders for the project. And we also make use of tons of spatial audio throughout the whole experience. So that, again, the same principle as in Notes on Blindness, we really build an entire world because that's where VR really shines. And one interesting things about the project is that we're now porting it to Quest, and the mission we gave ourselves is to make a lossless port, which is quite a big challenge for Quest, but so far it's looking really good. Like you almost don't lose anything from the Rift version, which we were not sure we could achieve. Space, of course, helps, and you get immersed in lots of black years. This one is also a good example about the French ecosystem. This project Umami started from a French artist that went to Art Deco, the French National School of Art, and it all started with a 2D animated flat world, and we turned this world into a 6DoF world so that you can interact, and we added some layers of storytelling, including a dramatic ending. And for those of you who were able to test it in Venice, the ending is quite dramatic, and we're trying to push to check how far we can go with the position of the viewer in VR. And really, this the French ecosystem was really useful to find the correct and the talented artist and designer to really transfer this whole world from flat to 6DoF. And it's pretty nice. It's really very unique in its form. So that was Umami. This one is really very different. It's called the Dawn of Art. It's based on the real cave, which is the Chauvet cave, which is a cave in France. And it's been submillimetrically scanned with LiDAR and everything. So we have a photogrammetry of the real cave, which you cannot visit now, but you can visit it in VR. And we went through a huge amount of optimization to make it run smoothly on regular computers. And again, another example where we use the French cultural heritage on one side, the Chauvet Cave and the institutions that are preserving the cave, the Paris-based Google Arts and Culture, and Atlas, also a producer based in Paris. So it's a good example of the whole ecosystem working together to create new kinds of experience. And you can see on the screenshots, we were really targeting more photorealistic rendering on this one. So that was the dawn of art. This one is called Fly. It was directed by Charlotte Michelborg. It's a multi-sensory LB experience, as you can see on the picture. There was a one-to-one scale with the big seat. That's an old seat from planes of the Second World War, and you had lots of multi-sensory things. So I'm not going to reveal everything because you might be able to see this one. You can see it in the MOR, and you can hopefully see it in real life again. But you can see on the picture there's boxes, and we've used some different elements to really build a complete experience using various kind of things. I'm not going to reveal everything. And the platform you can see on the picture comes from Moco FX, which is a UK-based special effects company. And they are specialized in huge hardware, let's say, effects. And they are based in UK. So it was, and Charlotte is based in UK also. So working from France with such great UK companies and talented directors is super easy from France. So that's also an advantage, being where we are. And the next one we wanted to focus on is called, it's a multiplayer quest game for the Donjon de Rouen in French, the French dungeon in the city of Rouen. So we kind of hacked the guardian system of the quest to make it possible to have a multi-user experience. You can have 4 to 8 people sharing the same quest space. Like literally, you can see a simplified avatar of your friends so that you do not bump into yourselves, but you can play together. And in this case, you can chase the English trying to invade French. And that's again a collaboration that was made possible in the French ecosystem. We worked with Elucid, that is a company specialized in designing escape games and stories where you have multi-participants. So that's, and there was also some public funding. So that's again a good example of how the French ecosystem is quite vibrant and can help build a very innovative project. So this last slide is several screenshots of different projects, and you can see it can range from photorealistic up to 2D animations, to crazy worlds, to historical with the Da Vinci house where he built a plane that never flew. Some games down in the middle. So that's very broad, and that's the nice thing of the ecosystem where we are in, is that we have really a broad range of expertise.
Yeah. So thank you, Amaury. We wanted just to, so these few examples were just to introduce you, because we've made more than 40 projects. And so we just wanted to introduce you to the variety of things that we can do, but also that you can build in France. You know, this talk is not only about us, it's about the general ecosystem. And we're just going to focus a little bit on a project that is dear to us at the moment. You have probably seen it in Cannes already. It's called Powers of 10, Powers of X. It's produced by a company called Anything Everything and by Mered Nori. It's part of the development showcase. Right, I'm just checking if people can hear me, but I guess it's all right. I have the good go. Powers of 10 it's a project that came to us about 3 months ago from a reference, and Mered is carrying this project. He's producing this project. It's based on a movie from the 70s called Powers of 10 from the Eames brothers, and the concept is simple in principle and hard in execution. You start from you scale up to the scale of 10 every 10 seconds in the movie. So it's a short movie. It lasts about 10 minutes, and so you start from the picnic table on the surface of Earth, and you reach the galaxies and the stars, and then you zoom in a matter of a few minutes, and then you zoom back in and you see microbes and DNA and things like that. And the idea behind the project is to reproduce this in VR. So this is fairly exciting, and it's part of the development showcase here, and it shows about Mered is pitching on Friday, I think, and I really encourage you to attend his pitch. You will hear more about the project, and I think it carries a lot of potential. So why focus on this particular project? Well, as I said, it's part of an established IP, and the interesting thing here is that we have a producer based in the US, Mered. We have a creative team and a director, especially based in the UK, Mike Faulkner. And the executive studio who will develop the production is French, and that would be us, Novelab. So the spread and the distribution of work here is very interesting because it allows to leverage different skill set and competence, but also some fiscal incentives, which I will talk about in a minute. Just for you to know, the project is based or is aimed at a Quest release and a location-based touring exhibition. Right. So, as I said, there is a US production team, there is a UK creative team, and a French executive team or executive studio. What is the value that we bring on this particular project? Well, as you've seen, we've made several projects, and we are now quite skilled at doing UX design, for example, and at bringing concepts that were in 2D or that were, especially we're very used to work with people who come from the film industry, for example. And we're used to translate those concepts from 2D and from a screen reference to a volumetric reference. So we help and we advise on how to build the user experience and the experience that people will have. On the technical side, we have quite a few challenges ahead of us, but we are confident we can face them. Building for the Quest, we should not forget that the Quest is only 1 year old, and building for the Quest is still a technical challenge at the moment, and or it's new, and especially in this case. We anticipate, we know how we're going to do it, but we will navigate very quickly between different scales of experience, right? There will be the microbes, and then we'll go to the galaxies. And that brings some technical issues and ways to deal with the assets and with the actual programming, which we're very looking forward to face, really, because we like to be challenged, right? On the last point, which is really a very interesting, important point for you to know, because I think everybody here or who listens is based out of France, and you should know, and there are several talks about it throughout the festival, you should know that there is a tax rebate going on in the country at the moment, which allows you under certain conditions. So if you have a project, I'm very happy to talk about it. We're very happy to have a look at it. And there are a certain set of criteria. And under certain conditions, the project can be eligible for a 30% tax rebate on all the production that will be made in France. So that's quite a lot, and we believe it makes the production, the idea of producing, having part of your production made in France really attractive. Also, as I said, and I'll talk a bit more about it in a second, Novelab is present in different regions in France and also in different countries. We are aiming to be present in different countries next to France very soon. So that allows us to leverage different subsidies on the regional level and various fiscal incentives. I will talk about it more in a second. A bit more about our partners, because the most important thing, when you're a business like us or a creative studio, as all of you know, is to have some good relationships with different partners you may have. And one of the quick news that we want to announce today is we're very happy to be sponsoring one of the grants from Kaleidoscope. So all of you know Kaleidoscope. It's this great network based in the US, made by René Pinel and his team. And René has released recently this concept of the grants. Every month, there are several projects that can win some grants to carry on and keep developing their work. And we're sponsoring the Femmes Futures grant, which is a grant aimed at female creators. And we will be offering, so apart from offering money to the creators, we're also offering budget and schedule reviews for their projects, because these are projects in development on the writing phase. And so we're very happy to help, to advise or challenge or question their budget and schedules and help them flesh out the project a bit more. Also, we'll be offering some technical advice on whatever is needed.
And you know that in France, we like to discuss things and concepts and ideas. So we're gonna be super happy to like really literally discuss the projects and see where we can push boundaries.
And lastly, we'll be doing some introduction. We may be doing some introductions to some of our partners. Of course, all this is depending on whatever the project needs at the time, right? These are some of the people we've had the privilege of working with in the past. So this is just to illustrate that some of these companies are in France. Most of it, of course, the New York Times is not in France, but we're part of a network of different organizations, companies, public entities that help us and help move all these projects forward. So this is just to say, this comes from suppliers. We have some very niche suppliers. We know some very niche suppliers here in Europe and in France who can do some very solid work on specific mocap, for example, or sound design. We can probably help you find the appropriate partner for the project. This also applies to fundraising and to broadcasting in general, or media partnerships in general. So we're very happy to make all these introductions and to help you develop your project. So all this is to say that we're not only an executive studio, we can help you work on your project, basically. All right, I have one more slide here. This is where we want to be headed in about 2 years' time. By the end of 2021, we're aiming to be present in several countries in Europe, but also in Montreal and in Los Angeles. Los Angeles and Montreal, because that's where a lot of our clients are from. We work a lot with producers in LA. In Montreal, there's the VFX community that is very strong over there, and we're very much in touch with them. But also in France and in Europe, as I said, there are several regional subsidies that you can get and leverage depending on your position and if you have an office basically in the area. And that's what we're doing. We already have several, but we're also looking at Luxembourg and maybe another European country by the end of next year, so that we can help you optimize your budget. All this is in the aim of being able to be eligible for more tax rebates, so that we can distribute the work and and eventually optimize your budget, your production budget.
Maybe we can add as a closing point that in France we have very stable teams, like people are because there's this whole network, because there's the CNC helping with subsidies and projects, because we have the status of intermittent du spectacle, which is a very nice status you can get as an independent specialized in movies, theater or music. Once you work enough, you can get this status that makes it much easier for you to live as an artist. So we have this whole surrounding an ecosystem that's really great and quite stable, which is definitely a great asset to for the projects to work in France, because you can have some really nice follow-up with teams that are involved and that are in place.
Yeah. What we wanted to really emphasize here is the fact that there is a very strong ecosystem here in the country and around the country, and I think it shows in the festivals. There is a lot of, there are many French productions, and what we wanted to say here, the really key point, is that you can have some very efficient pipelines between the US, especially, or North America in general, and Europe, and especially France. Would be, of course, very happy to work on any of your project if you have one. So that's what we wanted to emphasize here. Last takeaway is, if you have a project and if you're working on developing an IP or developing a project, please do get in touch, and we'll be very happy to talk about whatever you're working on. So that's it for us. And if there are any questions, I think we can take them now.
Absolutely. I think you can either ask questions in the Q&A section or in the chat section. Oh, people are joining. Like the party in the Amaury is over and people are joining the talk now. Should we start again for the ones that just joined?
I don't know.
Like we do a speed up version of 10 minutes for the recently arrived. You can type in if you'd like to have like a quick recap for the ones that joined near the end. You can type in the chat if you'd like to see more.
Well, I think the chat is is recorded anyway, and it will be. Oh, well, we have some. Okay. Mitchell is asking, why not consider Louisiana as a US base? That's interesting. Well, thank you for your question. A lot of our clients are based in Los Angeles, and I think that's what drives the decision. And Gia asks for a quick recap. Well, that's all right, Gia. Thank you for asking. So, because maybe several people want one. So, how about shall we run through the presentation really quickly?
Yeah, we can try that, like a very quick go through.
Okay. Well, so if you've seen the presentation already, you can probably leave now. If you're just joining, we'll have a very quick run through. Well, we'll say some things, but we'll run through the presentation one more time. So bear with us as I share my screen. All right, and we'll.
And in the meantime, you can give your, you can say how great it was in the MOR in the chat.
Yeah, how is the party?
And we have another question, 30% tax credit for VR in the States, TV5 partnership here, etc. Yeah, maybe Paul can say a word about that when once we went
30% tax credit for VR in the States, TV5 partnerships here. Yeah, well, so the tax rebates work internationally. So in France, for example, it's for international producers who want to produce in France or abroad. And so you use those tools to get these tax credits, because otherwise, if you work only in that one country, you will not get a tax credit. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but um, that's the aim of working of doing international productions. Of course, I mean, I guess there will be some between different states in the US. I don't know all the systems in the States. Okay, you should see now my screen. Can I have a sort of thumbs up or something?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, cool. I will run again. So, all right. So this is us. My name is Paul Mezier, and I'm an executive producer for Novelab. And it's my pleasure to be with Amaury Burthe, who is the founder, CEO, and creative director of Novelab. We are an executive production studio based in Paris. We're about 40 people strong at the moment, depending on the production. We may reach up to 60 at some point. But we're expanding at the moment. We've been active for more than 10 years. We co-created the Google Cardboard, and we have developed more than 40 VR and AR experiences and games and interactive installations. And we are really in a growing phase at the moment, which is a good sign for the industry as a whole as well. We definitely see momentum going on at the moment. We see more projects coming in and larger projects in general. So it's very exciting for the immersive industry, for the VR industry in general. It's a very good sign, we think. These are some of the awards that we've won. They're not all of them here, but we are the most awarded VR studio or immersive developer in Europe. So we've had the privilege of winning Best VR at the Venice Film Festival 2 years ago, and at many others. You can see our work usually showcased in the usual suspects: Tribeca, South by Southwest, Sundance, and many others. These are some of the projects that we have made, and Amaury will present them quickly.
Yes. So the first project is a bit old now in VR time. It's called Not on Blindness. It's a first good example of the power of the French ecosystem. So the project was supported by Arte, the French TV channel. It had fundings from the CNC and also from regional funds, regional media funds. And it's a good example of a collaboration between the TV channel, a producer that was Agathe Film at the time, and the creative studio ourselves. And it was the first of its kind in terms of adaptive storytelling in VR, and also the way we build the experience, because the sound drives the visuals, and the way we used VR is really to immerse you in a world that is very consistent with lots of details around yourself. You're in an existing world, and we think that's a good way to make the VR shine, because you're immersed in this existing world that makes sense, so to speak. So that's the first example. The second one is called Spheres. It's a bit more recent, directed by Lisa McNitt. On this one, the part that shined in the ecosystem is really the way we've been able to build a team that was used to real-time VFX, because we have very good engineering schools in France. And so we've been able to develop a lot of real-time shaders, a lot of real-time VFX, because it's all happening in space. So we had to create crazy visuals, because at some point you're swallowed by a black hole and you get spaghettified, for example. So if you've never done that, you should try. And there's tons of spatial audio also in the project. And the last important bit is that we're currently porting it to Quest, because for now it was only on desktop VR, and we're porting it to Quest, and the challenge is to make it work and make it as beautiful as it was, but on Quest. That's quite a challenge, but we're almost there, and we almost don't lose any quality. So that was the second example. Third example, it's called Umami, directed by Landia Egal, and the whole project started from the work of a French artist. He's an animator artist. He went through Art Deco, the National School of Art in France, and he built a 2D world and a 2D specific character. And we took this flat 2D world and transferred it into 6DOF, which was quite crazy, especially for him. He was really surprised of what you could do with that. And there's on top of that, of course, interactive storytelling. You can play with lots of things. You can experience a dinner, and there's a dramatic ending that kind of brings reflection on the position of the viewer in VR, because it involves you in a very powerful way. So another example that is really not the same style at all. So this one, again, on the French side, there was the Paris-based Google Arts and Culture Institute that was involved, along with Atlas V, based in Paris also. And of course, the Chauvet Cave, that is a real cave. It's no longer open to public for preservation issues, but the whole cave was scanned with a sub-millimeter LiDAR, so that we have the exact reproduction of the cave. And the huge effort has been to optimize that to make it look realistic, look beautiful, but still be able to run without just exploding your computer because of all the point cloud to display. So this one was called the Dawn of Art, and in the next slide you can see some pictures. So this one is really more, much more photorealistic, and it's traveling back in time to see how things were done at this time. So that's it for this one. Next one is Fly. Fly is a multi-sensory location-based experience. You're basically inside an egg, and you can see there's a one-to-one mapping with the chair that you could that you use at some point. And there's also a platform that was designed and operated by MocoFX, which is a UK-based company. They are a real life-size VFX company, and they have won awards, and they've been working for Marvels and licenses like that. And it's great because from France it was quite easy to work with them that are UK based, and Charlotte Mickelborg also is UK based. She was the director on this piece. And you have hidden the white boxes. You have lots of multi-sensory things that I will not reveal. If you do the experience, you will discover. And the last project is for the city of Rouen. It's a multiplayer Quest game. So because Quest doesn't allow for multiplayer, we hacked our way into the Guardian system of the Quest, and that enables us to have from 4 to 8 people at the same time sharing the same space. You can actually see the avatars of everybody around you, and that matches physically, and some objects are also matching physically. And so you can all together kick out the English invaders from the time and kick them out of France. And that was again a collaboration made possible because of the ecosystem in France. Here it was the cultural heritage and the city of Rouen with the dungeon, and Elucid, which is a French company specialized in escape games, and that really helped design the whole story with the use of the location. So and to conclude this first focus on projects, Here's a few screenshots of different projects we've been working on. The idea here is to show you how diverse the expertise can be in France, like from the artists to the engineers to the designers. There's a wide range of expertise in France, and all that connects together to create photorealistic experiences, or video games down in the middle, or historical piece like the one down on the right, which is the Leonardo's house, where he built this wing that never flew. You have Umami that is more animated, lots of different expertise and running on lots of different platforms. Some of them are not showcased here, but there's also a lot of our projects that were made on AR glasses or AR device using phones and
Yeah,
devices like that.
that's right. We're not showing Breathe, which one, well, which was showcased at Sundance. But this was just so this was a way to show you the some of the projects that we've made, and we've made many others, but we've tried to focus on one particular aspect each time. We'll focus here. We'll take a few minutes just to speak a bit more about a project that is in development at the moment, and you've probably seen it on the website at Cannes of Cannes. It's called Powers of X, Powers of 10. And it's based on, it's a fantastic project really, and we have been in discussion with Mezier, who is the producer at Anything Everything, and who contacted us because he was looking for a partner to develop this the project in VR. It's based on, the project is based on this movie from the 70s called Powers of 10. And it's a very simple concept, but which is hard to execute always. It's a long zoom out where it lasts for about 10 minutes, the small movie, and you start from a picnic, from two people having a picnic, and you start zooming out little by little, and actually at a linear rate, every 10 seconds you gain an exponent 10 to the scale you see. So 10 meters or 10 yards, and then 100 yards, and then I will stop counting from there. But so you start from the picnic, and then you reach the galaxies in about 5 minutes, and then you zoom back in and go to the microbes and the DNA level. And the aim is to reproduce this in VR. So, or not exactly this, of course. There is actually, it's updated with current current knowledge and current stories actually, but it's based on the same principle and on the same intellectual property actually. So we wanted to focus on this particular example because again, it's a great project. We really like it. We'd like to be involved in it because it's an established IP that many people know, and it's an interesting case to single out here because the producer is based in the US. The creative team is based in the UK. Mike Faulkner is the director, and Mezier is the producer. And the development studio is based in France. It would be us, and that distribution of the work really allows for some interesting fiscal incentives, among other things, but basically other synergies, you know. So, and I will speak about them in a minute. But just for you to know, the project is aimed at a quest release and a location-based touring exhibition. So if you have any question about the project, you please go and talk to Mezier. If you think you can contribute in any way to the project, please go and talk to him. The project is in development at the moment, and you know, I'm sure he'd be very happy to have your input or any suggestion you may have. Right. So what really I said, so there's this distribution of the work, right, with the US producer, UK creative team, and French studio or French executing studio. And well, I think we bring a lot of, it's a very interesting pipeline because we bring some creative knowledge to the work. We've done more than 40 projects and we know how to build user experience. And in this particular case, there is a challenge with the density of information that will be displayed and also the general user experience. So we are thinking long and hard. I mean, it's early stage, but we're thinking long and hard about the way this will translate in VR. And we're particularly focused on this type of work where you have a creative team that comes from the film world and that has a successful track record in the film world and wants to transition and start making work in VR and or immersive in general. And this we have done on several occasions, actually, with several directors and several creative teams, and we're getting quite good at it. Or we have our own language to help or speaking about the different issues that may arise. So this is where we can bring value. Also on the technical side, I've said the project is based for Quest, is aimed at Quest. Quest is only 1 year old and it's basically a phone you have in this headset. So there's a lot of work to do on the optimization. In the project, we will be scaling up and down from the molecular level to the galactic level fairly quickly. And so that brings quite a set of challenges on how to load the assets in real time. And this we're very happy to face this challenge. We're quite excited about it. Lastly, on the business side, there were several talks about it during the festival, which you may have heard of. But there is in France something called the tax rebate, for international productions, the TRIP. And so it's a system by which you can claim 30% of the production you have made in France to be subsidized by the government. This is a fiscal incentive, and it applies to all the production you may do in the country, and it applies to international producers working in France here. So please get in touch. We're familiar with the topic, and we can help you. Get this incentive.
As well as CNC helps, and there's lots of different ways you can get fundings in France. But usually it requires part of the work to be done in France.
Yeah, there are several, and we have one more slide about it in a minute, but there are several incentives and various fiscal incentives that can be of interest in the country. So one quick word about the partners and our partners or network of partners. This is really, we want to share the impression here, which is very much true, that we're part of a strong ecosystem here in the country. One thing we are announcing today is we are partnering with Kaleidoscope. We're supporting one of the grants that René Pinel at Kaleidoscope has developed, and it's the Femmes Futures grant. It's a grant based for independent creators, aimed at independent creators who are female identifying. And we will, along with supporting the grant with money that independent creators can win every month, we will also provide mentoring and support in terms of budget and schedule reviews. And also we can bring some technical advice. We can offer some technical advice. All these projects are in development, and they need advice, and they need to be. They're usually very happy to have a studio that is experienced to just question the way forward for the project, right? And last thing, we can also make some introduction to some partners for these artists, and that brings me to speak about some of our partners, which are represented here. We've worked with a number of people along the years, and suppliers, funding entities, producers, media and broadcasters people, and we're very happy to help any project that comes along, and of course help developing it, and even if we're only acting as a supplier, for example, or if we're just helping on part of the project, we're very happy to, of course, to leverage our network to help you get your project made. Last thing, this is where we want to be headed in a couple of years' time. At the moment, we're present in Paris and Toulouse, which is a city in the south of France. And the reason for that is that in Europe and of the world in general, there are regional grants and regional fiscal incentives for production. And we're building this this network basically of outposts in different regions and countries so that we can leverage all these fiscal incentives and grants and subsidies. This is for Europe and also, of course, Los Angeles and Montreal. Montreal because of the VFX community over there, which we're very close to, and Los Angeles because a lot of our clients are over there. So we are looking at opening an office over there or some presence in a couple of years' time. So that's about it for us. This was a quick run through, so it was not as clean as polished as the first time, but I hope you, the audience, could get some interesting tidbits. These are my contact details, and I'm very happy to answer any question you may have on your project. We're very happy to help any project that comes along. And what we really wanted to give as a takeaway here is that there's a very strong ecosystem here in the country, in France. And we are, as we said earlier, one of the leading studios, well, in Europe and internationally now. And we're very happy to help you navigate the country and be your one-stop shop to produce your project. So I think that's all for the second run. So I will stop sharing my screen now.
And I think we have like 3 minutes for additional question. If you have any question, you can type them in the question Q&R or in the chat.
Well, I think
we're almost there.
We have fewer people. Okay.
Or else we can all meet in the MOR party if it's not
over that's right
yet.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's still running.
Are you doing VFX out of VR, Gia?
Yes, we do. You mean for flatties? like the old rectangle? If you mean that, yes, we do as well. It's not the main focus of our work, but we do use VFX. Like we have tools like Nuke and After Effects and stuff like that.
So, if you're speaking about virtual production, Gia, yes, this is something we do. We have, as we said, we have mocap capacity and phase cap and volumetric capture capacity with our network of partners. If there's something that we don't know how to do, we know who to speak to get it done. For feature films, so VFX out of VR for feature films. So
yeah, I think it's probably just for regular films. Like that's not our main specialty, definitely. We've done some, especially we've done some for 360 movies. We've done some for 180 movies. Also, we've been selected by the Google. What was that called? Google VR Creative Lab. So we've done some 180 VFX. But like, if you're talking about big VFX for a huge license, that's not our main area, definitely.
But we're very happy to have a look into whatever you have in mind, Gia. So please contact me, contact us.
Yeah, you can contact Paul. If it's out of scope, we can definitely point you to
yeah, of course.
people
Yeah.
we know that are doing good work. Basically.
So, are there any questions? Any other questions? I think we are good.
Good.
For the time being. We don't see any more questions popping up, so I think we can close it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 2 a.m. for us here in France, so thank you for bearing with. And we hope you enjoyed it. And have a nice day, everyone, wherever you are. We all wish we were in Cannes to enjoy the Riviera, but it will be next year. That's all right. Have a nice rest of the day, wherever you are. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining. I think this is the moment where Cecile picks up again.